Okay, this is my first brisket. I'm going to see what I learned when I was over in Memphis in May. This is about a 5.5 pound brisket, and the butcher over there already pretty much trimmed it, so there's not a lot to do. I am going to take some of this thicker fat off here, because as we were told, the really heavy fat that will not render down. I think he told me not to cut toward my fingers also. So we'll just take some of this out of here. You take much more. I'd like to get a little bit of this out of here. And this is still a little thick right in here. I don't like this piece right here. That knife that guy trimmed that brisket with was more like a scalpel. This is a fairly sharp knife, but nothing like that thing was. I think what we'll end up doing here is just trimming around this after it's cooked. Not sure how long I'm going to cook it. I'm going to cook it on our big green egg at low temperature for quite a few hours. Actually, all of this here is nice and soft. I think we're going to leave that alone. I think this will all be all right. Okay, so we're going to inject this brisket. This is the magic stuff they told me to get. If you read that or not, Cosmos, world famous, recipes on the back. I'm making way too much, but it's okay. Calls for 1/3 of a cup of Cosmos. Well, it's not quite 1/3 of a cup, so I'll just add just a little more. I could pour it in there, but I'm sure it'd make a big mess. That's close enough. And it calls for 2 cups of beef broth or distilled water, your choice. I'm using the beef broth. Just pour that in there. Glad Teresa still has some Tupperware around, because you don't stir it. You shake it all up. Probably shake it a few times while I'm doing this. Okay, so I made this broth, shook it up. I got this kit on Amazon. Looks like a pretty high-speed injection out here. It's got a couple of tips that go sideways here. Got 3 different tips. I'll try this one and see if I like it. If I don't, I'll probably switch to something else. And then this is not for competition like it was down in Memphis. I don't know what that's doing on there. I don't need that on there. But I'm going to try and do it the way they did it. The whole thing was about injecting with the grain of the beef, not against it, so that when you slice it across the grain. So you want to inject it with the grain. See how this goes here. He said you'd see it puff up, it kind of squirted out there, and that's what it does. I guess you're supposed to let up on it a little sooner. Oh, good thing Teresa's not in here seeing that. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it kind of get a leaker there. It kind of puffs up. Well, I mixed up enough stuff for about 20 of these. Okay, so I have injected the entire brisket. This is the next secret they use. Don't know if you can read that. The light shining on it. It is called Skuttlebusters. Made in Texas. And they were pretty generous with it. Now he actually sprayed, believe it or not, he sprayed apple cider vinegar on there because he wanted the rub to get a better bite, but this is already pretty wet from that stuff, so we're gonna, no, this may not work. Try this. So this is Skuttlebusters rub, another championship they claim anyways, that they've won many championships. They got all this on Amazon. I don't think you can find it in a regular store here. You might find Scuttlebutts, I'm not sure. So we'll give this a good rub, and then I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to give this side a good rub. I watched a lot of videos after I went to Memphis in May for the big International BBQ cook-off. And I saw one place where the guy said, if you don't have any rub, don't worry about it. It's nothing but salt and paprika. I've looked at a lot of rubs and that's not far off. They all have their extra little magic thing they put in there, but okay. So what we'll do with this now, I think I'll put just a little more on this side. So I'm going to wrap this in tin foil, and I'm going to put it in the refrigerator. It's going to sit overnight, and then tomorrow we'll get the green egg up to temp, and we'll start cooking it, and we'll see how it comes out. Before the fire gets too hot, realize I want to set this up for an indirect cook, and I'll do that by putting this plate setter, as they call it on here. I'm going to set my grate right on top of that. And that way we won't be cooking directly over the fire. Won't be any fire, of course, just be coals. Well, we're waiting for the grill to get up to temperature. We'll get the brisket out. Technically, I should have had this out already because I would want it to be closer to room temperature, but I'm not quite ready to put it in yet anyway, so I'll let it sit out here for a little bit. We're going to cook it fat side down, and we'll cook it until the internal temperature is about 160. At that point, we're going to wrap it back up again and let it cook until the internal temperature comes up to around 200. When we wrap it, we'll probably put a little more of that broth that we made for the injection in there. And we're going to squirt it with some parquet margarine. Don't ask me why, that's what they do. Something about it doesn't burn, something about the way it breaks down. They just like it. So I'm going to try the same thing. Now we'll go check and see how our fire is doing. Okay, our grill is up to temperature. It's running about 275, which will be alright. Put a thermometer in so I can monitor the temperature on my phone. Show you that in just a second. Right now we just want to get him started. Actually, I'm going to cook this one fat side down. It's a remote probe, and it sends it right to my telephone, and so I can monitor the temperature this way. I can't see my preview now, but That's how we'll keep an eye on the temperature. Okay, well, our brisket is up to 160 degrees. It's been on about 3 hours. The temperature's been held real steady at 250. So what I want to do now is wrap it. That's going to be long enough. A little probe down a little closer here. There's to be a breeze from it right now. Before I wrap it, I'm going to add a little more of the special broth that we injected in it. And then this is something totally foreign to me. I'm going to squirt some parquet on there. I have no idea how much I'm supposed to use. Set it back on the grill just the way it was. And what we'll be looking for now is a final cook temp around 200, 205 will be alright. So now we'll check this again when it gets to be about 200. We'll take it out, we'll vent it for a little bit, and then we're going to wrap it in a towel, and we're going to put it in a cooler, and we're going to let it rest for probably an hour and a half to 2 hours. Okay, so the internal temperature is up to 200 degrees on our brisket. I'm going to take it out. Now I'm going to wrap the brisket in a towel. Put it in the cooler, and we're going to let it rest for a couple hours. Okay, our brisket has been in the cooler. Still feels plenty warm, so we're going to unwrap it. Maybe. And I think we'll start slicing it from this end. I have a platter here ready, that you can't see. Just take a look inside here. Looks like well done brisket. Hot. I can't believe it stayed that hot for 2 hours. Time to have a little taste. Very good. It's excellent.